Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're tackling a serious and complex topic that affects communities across the globe: gun violence. Specifically, we're going to take a deep, data-driven look at the situation in Canada's capital, Ottawa, as we analyze the trends and statistics from the past year, 2025. This isn't just about numbers. It's about understanding the stories behind them, the impact on our city, and the ongoing efforts to create a safer community for everyone. Our goal here is to present a clear, factual picture, moving beyond the headlines to explore the nuances of this issue. We'll be looking at incident reports, demographic data, geographic concentrations, and the types of firearms involved. We'll also examine the proactive strategies and community-led initiatives that are working to address the root causes and prevent future tragedies. It's a heavy subject, but an important one. By fostering an informed conversation, we can all contribute to finding effective, long-term solutions. So, let's get started. To begin our analysis of gun violence in Ottawa in 2025, it's essential to look at the official data. According to the Ottawa Police Service's end-of-year report, the city recorded a total of 85 incidents involving the discharge of a firearm. This figure represents a slight increase of approximately 6% compared to the 80 incidents reported in 2024. While any increase is a cause for concern, it's important to place this in a broader context. This number is still below the peak we saw in 2022, which suggests that the situation has not escalated uncontrollably, but rather continues to fluctuate within a concerning range. Of these 85 incidents, 35 resulted in injury, and tragically, there were 11 gun-related homicides in 2025. This homicide figure is up from 9 in the previous year. Each of these numbers represents a person, a family, and a community deeply affected by violence. When we break down these incidents, a significant pattern emerges. The vast majority, around 80%, were determined by investigators to be targeted. This means they were not random acts of violence against the general public. Instead, they were primarily linked to conflicts within criminal networks, often related to the drug trade, territorial disputes, or gang-related retaliation. Understanding this distinction is crucial because it shapes the nature of the police response and the focus of preventative strategies. It highlights that the risk is not evenly distributed across the population, but is concentrated within specific, high-risk circles. Now, let's explore the geographical distribution of these incidents. Where in Ottawa are we seeing these events occur? The data from 2025 shows a continued concentration in a few key neighborhoods. Areas like the South Keys and Ledbury-Heron-Gates-Heron-Gatridge areas have consistently shown higher rates of firearm-related calls for service. This year, we also saw a notable cluster of incidents in parts of the Vanier and Overbrook neighborhoods. It is critically important to state that this does not mean these are dangerous neighborhoods full of bad people. Far from it. These are vibrant communities, home to thousands of families, businesses, and community organizations. However, they are also areas that historically face greater socioeconomic challenges, including higher rates of poverty, unemployment, and a lack of access to resources and opportunities. These socioeconomic factors are often referred to as the root causes of crime. When young people feel disconnected, lack positive mentorship, and see limited pathways to legitimate success, they can become more vulnerable to the lure of gangs and criminal activity. The concentration of violence in these areas is not a reflection of the residents, but rather a symptom of systemic issues that require systemic solutions. It's a cycle where a lack of investment and opportunity can breed desperation, which in turn can lead to violence. This violence then further stigmatizes the neighborhood, making it harder to attract investment and support. Breaking this cycle is one of the most significant challenges facing our city. It's not just a policing issue. It's a public health, education, and economic development issue. Let's turn our attention to the how of this issue specifically: the types of firearms being used. A concerning trend that continued and intensified in 2025 is the prevalence of handguns in criminal activity. Analysis of firearms seized by the Ottawa Police Service reveals that nearly 90% of guns used in crimes were handguns. What's even more alarming is the origin of these weapons. The vast majority are not legally owned or sourced from within Canada. Instead, forensic tracing consistently points to them being illegally smuggled across the border from the United States. This highlights a major challenge for law enforcement. While Canada has strict gun control laws, we are next to a country with a vastly different approach to firearm accessibility. This influx of illegal handguns fuels the violence we see on our streets. The other significant trend is the rise of so-called ghost guns. These are firearms that are privately assembled from kits or individual parts, often bought online. They have no serial numbers, making them completely untraceable by law enforcement. In 2025, Ottawa police reported seizing a record number of these ghost guns, reflecting a growing and sophisticated problem that bypasses traditional gun control measures entirely. The availability of these untraceable weapons provides criminal elements with a ready supply of firearms, making it easier for disputes to escalate into deadly violence. Tackling this requires a multi-pronged approach, focusing on border security, intelligence sharing with American counterparts, and cracking down on the domestic networks that distribute these illegal weapons. So, in the face of these challenges, what is being done? The response to gun violence in Ottawa is a multi-agency effort. On the law enforcement side, the Ottawa Police Service has its Guns and Gangs Unit, a specialized team focused on investigating shootings and disrupting the criminal networks behind them. Their strategy involves a combination of overt patrols in hotspot areas to deter crime, and covert intelligence gathering to identify key players and dismantle their operations. In 2025, this unit was responsible for a significant number of arrests and firearm seizures, directly taking weapons and offenders off the streets. They work closely with provincial and federal partners, like the Ontario Provincial Police and the Canada Border Services Agency, to address the cross-jurisdictional nature of gun trafficking and gang activity. However, policing is only one part of the equation. We know we can't arrest our way out of this problem. That's where community-based prevention and intervention come in. This plan allocates funding and resources to grassroots organizations that are working on the front lines. Programs like the Ottawa Community Immigrant Services Organization, or OCISO, run youth engagement programs that provide mentorship, job training, and positive recreational activities. The goal is to offer young people a viable, positive alternative to the path of gangs and crime. Another key player is the John Howard Society, which works with individuals who are already involved in the justice system, helping them reintegrate into society and break the cycle of reoffending. These programs are the long-term solution. They address the root causes we talked about earlier: poverty, lack of opportunity, and social exclusion. One of the most innovative and vital components of Ottawa's strategy is the Integrated Neighborhood Services Team Model. This approach brings together police officers, social workers, mental health professionals, and community outreach workers to collaborate in specific high-priority neighborhoods. Instead of working in silos, they share information and coordinate their efforts. For example, if a police officer encounters a youth who is at risk, they can immediately connect them with a social worker or a mentorship program, rather than just moving on. This holistic approach acknowledges that the issues driving violence are complex and interconnected. Someone acting out might be dealing with trauma, a family crisis, or mental health struggles. The Neighborhood Services Team Model allows for a more compassionate and effective response that addresses the person's underlying needs, rather than just their behavior. This proactive, preventative work is essential to stopping violence before it starts. It's about building trust and relationships within the community, making residents feel supported and heard. Looking ahead, what are the next steps? The data from 2025 gives us a clear but challenging roadmap. First, the continued fight against illegal gun smuggling must remain a top priority. This requires enhanced technology at the border, greater intelligence sharing, and sustained pressure on the distribution networks within our city.